Hello, everyone, and welcome to GameSpot's Best and Worst of 2006. I'm Rich Gallup. Hello, Jeff Gerstmann.
Hey, Rich. How's it going?
It's going well. You know, it's been a pretty good year for video games.
I'm going to go so far as to say it's been a great year for video games.
And we have a great show about the great year in video games.
Funny how that works out.
Doesn't it? We're naming all the finalists for GameSpot's Best and Worst of 2006. A lot of awards this year.
Almost 50.
Wow.
Yeah, there are so many new platforms this year, and of course the aging platforms are kind of having maybe their last good year, so just a ton of awards all over the place.
It's an exciting time. Now, we're not going to name any winners just yet, but it's been my experience that when you editors get locked in a room and fight all this out, it's actually harder for you to pick the finalist than it is to pick the winner.
Well, it depends on the categories, but yeah, some of these categories were very competitive, and getting the list down to 5 finalists, very tough sometimes. So brass knuckles, you know, a little...
Cool. I thought we were going to wear suits today.
Yeah, I wore my tracksuit.
That's a suit. Sure. Yeah. Well, first up, we have Special Achievement Awards. Why don't you run on over and join Greg?
Okay.
Get out of here. Coming up next, Jeff and Greg with the Special Achievement Awards. Fellas?
So special achievements are the categories that are a little kind of out of the ordinary compared to what we normally do, right?
Yeah, this is how we kick off our awards every year, and in some ways these are some of the most interesting categories because this is where we really just kind of drill down into some of the most specific kind of excellent qualities in games this year.
Right, and we're going to kick things off with Best Original Music. Now, this category, you know, a lot of games are moving towards licensed soundtracks, but there's still a lot of original music out there, right?
Yeah, and some developers just go to amazing efforts to create just incredible soundtracks for their games, stuff that you wish you'd hear in movies or what have you, and here's where we're going to look at the best 5.
All right, now let's take a look at the finalists for Best Original Music.
Say something.
Bully.
Call of Duty 3.
Dreamfall, The Longest Journey.
Gears of War.
Hitman, Blood Money.
In this business, we see a lot of games ahead of time, so a lot of games are kind of known quantities by the time they come out. But there's still some games that really catch us off guard, right?
Yeah, and these are what we call surprisingly good games, games that we don't necessarily expect a lot from, but they come out and we start telling each other, like, man, you gotta see this. This is just way better than any of us thought.
A lot of crazy stuff. So let's take a look at the finalists for Most Surprisingly Good Game.
Age of Empires, The Age of Kings.
The Godfather.
Mark Echo's Getting Up, Contents Under Pressure.
Saints Row.
Viva Pinata.
Games can be huge multimedia, kind of bring together events that bring together forms of different types of media, and that's where the best licensed music category kind of ties in, right?
A lot of these publishers have very deep pockets by now, so we used to just get really impressed when songs we'd heard before appeared in games, but these days now I think it's much more of an art. So here's where we try to select those games where they did the best job of bringing together licensed soundtracks.
And also best use in the game as well. Let's take a look at the finalists for best licensed music.
Grand Theft Auto, Vice City Stories.
FIFA 07.
Mark Echo's Getting Up, Contents Under Pressure.
NBA Live 07.
Need for Speed Carbon.
One of the most important parts of a game can be its story, you know, especially these single-player adventures. You know, you want something that's there to kind of keep you moving along.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of games where, you know, once you set aside all the graphics and the gameplay and all that, it's the story that really sticks with you for a long time. So never to be underestimated is the impact of this aspect of the game.
Totally. Now let's take a look at your finalists for Best Story.
Please let me off the hook.
Your money.
Bully.
All of it.
Dreamfall, The Longest Journey.
The Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion.
You are the one from my dream.
Final Fantasy 12.
Now I want
Neverwinter
some answers.
Nights 2.
Not all of us wanted you here. Trust me.
It's amazing to think how far we've come in video game sound effects since games started. You know, all the Super Mario sound effects
Yeah.
and coin grabs and all that stuff. Now, you know, people are full-on Foley artists for games.
Exactly. I think sound has even come further than graphics have. They don't necessarily have the same visceral impact right off the bat, but games just sound practically real at this point.
Especially when it comes to their effects. So let's take a look at the nominees and the finalists for Best Sound Effects.
Call of Duty 3.
Company of Heroes.
Dead Rising.
Gears of War.
FIFA 07.
Worst of 2006 continue. I'm now joined by Brad Shoemaker. Hey, Brad, welcome.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad.
Awesome. Well, as the Special Achievement Awards here, our next up is Best Graphics Technical. What's the difference between this and, say, an artistic award?
The technical award is basically about which developer had the best toys, who made the most powerful engine, and then who used it most adeptly to make their game look amazing.
Nice. Well, let's look at the finalists for Best Graphics Technical.
Company of Heroes.
Fight Night, Round 3.
An overpowering haymaker.
Gears of War.
Tekken, Dark Resurrection.
Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter.
Now, Brad, you hear a lot of comparisons between video games and movies, and one of the obvious bridges are some of the actors they bring in to speak during games.
Right.
Tell us about what kind of voice acting's out there these days.
Well, obviously, as was mentioned before, publishers have more money these days, so they're hiring bigger names, but this award isn't just about who got the biggest marquee names to act for their game. It's who performed the best and who contributed most to the story.
Nice. And here are the finalists for Best Voice Acting.
Memories make me happy.
Dreamfall, The Longest Journey.
Sad.
Then the stars.
The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
This is the day.
Gears of War.
Yeah. Group up.
What could I
Neverwinter
possibly
Nights
know
2.
that would be important? I lived on that farm all my life.
Sorry about the
Saints
mess.
Row.
Really here thought it'd be a good idea to skim off the top and well.
So with all these new consoles out there, Brad, and of course with the PC continuing to push the envelope, games are looking pretty.
They are.
They are.
They certainly are.
Could you call it artistic?
You could.
You could?
I think there's artistry in game creation these days.
Well, and we just have a category to go right with
We
that.
certainly do.
Here are the finalists for Best Graphics Artistic.
Gears of War.
The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess.
Loco Roco.
Okami.
Viva Pinata.
So we keep saying it, we might as well continue with it. They got a lot of money when it comes to making video
They
games.
do.
And one of the things they go out and buy are licenses.
Really?
Yeah, what kind of licenses, Brad?
Movies, comic books, TV shows, you name it, it's probably going to get made into a video game.
And some of them are bad, but a lot of them turn out okay.
There are,
some good
increasingly, there are good ones.
It's a nice sign. But here are the finalists for Best Use of a Creative License.
Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy.
Marvel, Ultimate Alliance.
Snoopy versus the Red Baron.
Star Wars, Empire at War.
Warhammer 40,000, Dawn of War, Dark Crusade.
A hallmark of video games, Brad, are the characters that you get to play as. And
Indeed.
you run across some pretty cool ones.
Of course.
Like,
Master Chief.
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? That's a good
Link.
example.
Yeah, Link.
Yeah, Link. Yeah,
Okay.
they are timeless. They even start inducting them into various Hall of Fames. But here are our finalists for this year's Best New Characters.
Screw that. I got an idea. Oh, yeah?
Delta Squad, Gears of War.
Jimmy Hopkins,
Jimmy,
Bully.
please say something.
I don't mean to sound ungrateful.
Martin Septim, The Elder Scrolls
I know
4,
I'd be
Oblivion.
dead by now if it weren't for you.
The Rabbids, Rayman Raving Rabbids.
My name's Zoe.
Zoe Castillo, Dreamfall, The Longest Journey.
I think you might have been here.
By GameSpot's own Alex Navarro. Alex, comedy in games it's practically impossible, right?
Not necessarily. In fact, in recent years, somehow game developers went and got a sense of humor, and they actually learned how to sort of write comedy and kind of bring it into games without just making the game about comedy. But there are some truly funny games out there.
Yeah,
now.
because you have to get the dialogue right, and then the timing has to be right as well. So it truly is tough.
Indeed.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the finalists for the funniest game.
Oh, he's getting beat!
Bully.
That's wicked!
Disgaea 2, Cursed Memories.
Elite Beat Agents.
Rayman Raving Rabbids.
Sam & Max Episode 1, Culture Shock.
Vandalizing our neighborhood.
2006 was a year in which many things happened.
Safe to say that happens a lot of years. But yes,
But
2006,
this year especially.
big year.
Yes.
Lots of news, lots of huge stories that sort of really impacted the game industry in a lot of very specific ways.
Yeah, so what we did is we took all these news stories and found the biggest news.
The biggest?
The biggest.
Wow.
Let's take a look right now at the finalists for the biggest news of 2006.
Don't mess with the DS.
E3 RIP?
The fall and rise of the Xbox 360.
The PlayStation 3 saga.
The Wii Revolution.
Now, in addition to the great single-player components that many games have, multiplayer is becoming an increasing focus for video games.
Yeah, since online sort of really took hold on game consoles, multiplayer has really kind of become the driving focus for especially a lot of genres like shooters and driving games, sports games, that kind of thing.
Certainly. Let's take a look right now at our finalists for Best Multiplayer Game.
Chrome Hounds.
Company of Heroes.
Gears of War.
Rainbow Six Vegas.
Uno.
As far as PC games are concerned, you aren't a complete PC game until you've released at least one expansion pack.
At least one.
Yeah.
But
We're talking
usually
2,
more.
maybe 3,
yeah,
something like that.
Somewhere
yeah.
down, yeah. Expand, like how many expansion packs you can release for a game is actually kind of a benchmark for how great your game really is, because people obviously are going to keep buying them.
Now, there are a lot of expansion packs out there that aren't so great, but we're not here to talk about those.
No, we're here to talk about the best expansion packs of 2006.
Let's take a look at the finalists.
Civilization 4, Warlords.
EverQuest 2, Echoes of Faour.
Star Wars, Empire at War, Forces of Corruption.
Warhammer 40,000, Dawn of War, Dark Crusade.
Acquiring targets.
Now, games have a lot of mechanics in them. You're reloading a gun, you're jumping over something, you're figuring out what best way to select a weapon. A lot of these have become pretty standard, but every year there are some new ones, right?
Indeed. You know, every once in a while a developer comes along, comes up with something that is truly original, kind of changes the way you think about how you play a certain genre or a certain type of game. And these are some of the best that came out this year.
Yes, the best original game mechanics. Let's look at the finalists.
Active Reload in Gears of War.
Celestial Brush in Okami.
free motion controls in Madden NFL 07.
Gambits in Final Fantasy 12.
Skill Stick in NHL 07.
Now let's take it over to Rich and see what they've got going on over there.
As GameSpot's best and worst of 2006 continue, I'm joined by Greg Mueller. Hey, Greg.
Hey, Rich.
Thanks for stopping by.
Of course.
We appreciate it.
No problem.
We got the last batch of Special Achievement Awards right here. Starting off with the best downloadable console game. That sounds like a new award to me, Greg.
Well, it is. Now we have 3 home consoles, each with its own downloadable game service, so it's really become its own market.
Nice. Well, let's take a look at the finalists for best downloadable console game.
Cloning Clyde.
F-Zero.
Super Mario 64.
Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
Uno.
There's more than one way to get a classic game, though, Greg, right?
That's right, yeah. Gamers are suckers for nostalgia, so when companies release all these classic compilations, people eat them up.
And we have the finalists right now for Best Classic Compilation.
Capcom Classics Collection, Volume 2.
Gradius Collection.
Sega Genesis Collection.
Now, Greg Mueller, I don't know if you know this, but there's an affliction that's hit many here in the GameSpot office.
Achievement points.
Yes, for the Xbox 360, we have many people here who just can't pull themselves away from getting them. What are these things?
Well, there are these new reasons to give you new ways to play Xbox 360 games, and developers are really starting to take them seriously and get pretty creative with how they use them in their games.
Nice. Here are the finalists for best use of Xbox 360 achievement points.
Chrome Hounds.
Dead or Alive 4.
Dead Rising.
Test Drive Unlimited.
Tony Hawk's Project 8.
Now, Greg, video game fans are suckers for a good sequel.
That's right, yeah. Sometimes a series will kind of go down a dark road, and then a new release will just come and pull it right back up. So that's what these games are.
Nice. Here are the finalists for Most Improved Sequel.
How about some of this?
Final Fantasy 12.
Madden NFL 07.
Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz.
Test Drive Unlimited.
Tomb Raider Legend.
Greg, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there are a lot more ways to spend an awful lot of money for people who love video games.
Really?
Yeah, there's like hardware out there.
Yep.
Not
that's
just
right.
games anymore.
Yeah, and it's been a big year for hardware. We've not only got 2 new console launches, but of a lot of other remarkable hardware as well.
Here are the finalists for Best New Gaming Hardware.
Nintendo DS Lite.
Nintendo Wii.
NVIDIA GeForce 8800 GTX.
Sony PlayStation 3.
Xbox 360 Wireless Racing Wheel.
Now, Brad, we've come to the part of the show that is why we call it the best and worst of 2006.
These are probably the games that wish they weren't winning awards.
Definitely. We've come to the dubious honors. Now these are games that maybe have done some things that are a little despicable, a little rough, a little ragged. And speaking of despicable, in-game advertising.
There's nothing worse.
There are a few things worse than in-game advertising. You know, you're driving along and all of a sudden, like, what's all this real-world stuff? It's like I'm supposed to be driving in the future or something, right?
It raises my ire.
It's crazy.
Yes, it's terrible.
Let's take a look at the finalists for most despicable use of in-game advertising.
Battlefield 2142.
Fight Night Round 3.
Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter.
NBA 2K7.
Scarface, The World Is Yours.
Now, of course, with voice acting becoming more and more prevalent in games today, you're getting a lot of good stuff, but at the same time, you're getting a lot of bad stuff, too.
And crappy actors got to eat, too.
Yeah, a lot of actors that maybe shouldn't be working in games doing a lot of voice work, right?
Yep.
Let's take a look at the finalists for the worst use of celebrity voices.
The Apprentice.
The Legend of Spyro, A New Beginning.
Scarface, The World Is Yours.
Superman Returns. Games work in waves. It seems like, someone comes up with a good new idea and then it starts a whole new trend.
Oh, yeah.
And you just see a wave of copycats and people kind of riding that wave to success, or at least they hope it's success, right?
Well, good art is borrowed, great art is stolen, so.
Totally. Let's take a look at this year's nominees for the worst new trend.
Bad console to PC ports.
Patching console games.
Paying for unlocks and micropayments.
PS2 to PSP hand-me-downs.
Release day shortages.
The good thing about game titles is that in a lot of cases you can abbreviate them down. You have Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, but you can just call it Oblivion and people know what you're talking about, right? But some of these game titles just get crazy, right?
It's all about marketing. You got brands layered on brands. People know what they like. They want to see that name on the box, but they just keep getting added on and
just
stacked.
Huge names.
It's out of control.
Take a look at the nominees for the most long-winded game title.
The Lord of the Rings, The Battle for Middle-earth 2, The Rise of the Witch King.
Rengoku 2, The Stairway to H-E-A-V-E-N.
Shin Megami Tensei, Devil Summoner, Raido Kuzunoha versus the Soulless Army.
Xenosaga Episode 3, also Sprak Zarathustra.
Disappointing, dubious honors.
All right.
First one is most disappointing game. A lot of times, we just can't help but get excited about a game.
Yeah, a lot of times maybe a publisher's hyping up a game or maybe some fanboys on the forums, and it just doesn't live up to expectations.
Yeah, it's a sad thing.
Yeah.
Here are the finalists for most disappointing game.
Dark Messiah of Might and Magic.
Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII.
Red Steel.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Street Fighter II Hyper Fighting.
So while they're disappointing games, they're also really, really, really bad games. And you've gotten to review a bunch of them, haven't you?
I've played my share of terrible games this year, and these are definitely games you want to stay away from.
All we can say, folks, don't play these games. Here are the finalists for flat out worst game.
Bomberman Act Zero.
Mobile Suit Gundam, Crossfire.
NRA Gun Club.
Terra Wars, New York Invasion.
World War II Combat Road to Berlin.
So, Greg, although there are a lot of bad games out there, sometimes a lot of people play them.
Yeah, I don't know why. They just don't listen to us.
Read the reviews! Please,
Exactly.
just read the reviews. Here are the finalists for worst game everyone played.
Jaws Unleashed.
NBA Live 07.
Red Steel.
Scarface, the world is yours.
Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting.
Now, no one wants to win dubious honor from GameSpot.
Nope.
Especially this last award. Best game that no one played. What's that mean?
Yeah, sometimes a great game comes out and it might be from a little development company or something like that, and just people just somehow miss it because they're playing those worst games that everybody played.
Here are the finalists for best game no one played.
Dreamfall, The Longest Journey.
Exit.
GTR 2.
Super Robot Tyson, original generation.
WTF.
Well, there have been a lot of games in a lot of different categories. It's still pretty easy to kind of fit different games into a specific genre, right?
Yeah, and the genre awards are all about celebrating kind of the best in breed, the games that set the bar for the main categories of games out there.
Now, the action-adventure category is definitely one of the biggest categories around. It seems like you could fit almost every game into either action or adventure, let alone action-adventure, right?
Action-adventure, basically any game that involves, running around, jumping over stuff, collecting things, they all fall into this category, so it's always one of the most competitive categories of the year.
For sure. Let's take a look at our finalists for Best Action-Adventure Game.
Psycho, did I hit your boyfriend?
Bully.
Dead Rising.
The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess.
Okami.
Saints Row.
Now, when you're talking about popular genres, I think the one that most immediately comes to mind is the shooter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, now with these powerful new consoles out there, you can render the act of shooting people like never before, and it's just, always going to be one of the most viscerally satisfying types of games.
Definitely. So, of course, there are a ton of these, so it's another difficult category to narrow down. Let's take a look at our nominees for Best Shooter.
Call of Duty 3.
Gears of War.
Resistance, Fall of Man.
Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter.
Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Vegas.
This is probably one of my favorite genres, and I know it's definitely one of yours.
We're bearing the torch for this thing, man.
Now, this genre actually had a surprisingly good year because of a resurgence in kind of the classics. We're talking about fighting games here.
Right. And now that you could play pretty much all the respectable ones online, although with a couple of exceptions, it's definitely found a new life for itself because you could get that spirit of competition by playing people over the internet.
Definitely. Let's take a look at our finalists for Best Fighting Game.
Dead or Alive 4.
The King of Fighters 2006.
Street Fighter Alpha 3 Max.
Tekken Dark Resurrection.
Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
So with the way this genre has changed over the years, it's almost hard to define it. What is a platform game in 2006?
I would say a platformer is a game in which you're primarily jumping a lot. Not so much shooting as much as you are jumping.
Maybe avoiding bottomless pits.
That's
that
right.
Sort of thing,
That's right. Games involving bottomless pits. But of course, it's a classic style of game, and it's still around and doing quite well, as we'll see.
Definitely. Let's take a look at the finalists for Best Platformer.
Daxter.
Kirby Squeak Squad.
Mega Man Powered Up.
New Super Mario Brothers.
Yoshi's Island DS.
The driving category is another one of those genres that has a ton of different games in it that cross a lot of different lines and appeal to a lot of different crowds.
Right. You've got some games that are just trying to be as realistic as possible, and others that are just trying to present the thrill of racing without so much the realism.
And we've brought them all together, so let's look at the finalists for Best Driving Game.
Burnout Revenge.
GTR 2.
Ridge Racer 7.
Test Drive Unlimited.
Toka Race Driver 3.
As GameSpot's best and worst of 2006 continues, Alex Navarro returns. Hey, Alex.
Hey, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks
right.
for joining us.
Good.
Genre Awards.
Genre Awards.
You know, sometimes I really just like to nerd out with a good puzzle game.
Yeah, and this has been like one of the banner years for puzzle games, and like as long as I can remember.
Yeah, loving it.
Loving it.
Here are the finalists for Best Puzzle Game.
Exit.
Gunpei.
Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2, March of the Minis.
Mercury Meltdown.
Trump Center, Second Opinion.
Now, Alex, you're a musician.
Sometimes.
You like the music.
Occasionally.
Yeah. A lot of rhythm music games out there for you.
A lot of rhythm music games, and it's like so many that, in fact, this is the first year that we've had a straight-up rhythm music category.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Well, now you know.
All right, here are the finalists for Best Rhythm Music Game.
Elite Beat Agents.
Guitar Man Lives.
Guitar Hero 2.
SingStar Rocks. Now, Alex, if you don't, want a music game or you want a rhythm game or a puzzle game, one game that can take up pretty much an entire year for you, so you don't need to play any other game, is a good role-playing game.
Yeah, role-playing games are not only time-consuming, but also some of like the deepest, most involving types of games out there. And there are a lot of good ones this year.
Yeah, here are the finalists for Best Role-Playing Game.
Disgaea 2, Cursed Memories.
The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion.
Final Fantasy V Advance.
Final Fantasy 12.
Neverwinter Nights 2.
Now, Alex, you and me, we're a couple of sports fans.
Occasionally.
And there are a lot of games for sports fans each and every year.
A lot
of
sports games.
It's like they have the sports game, it's good, they bring it out a new year, new players, new teams, but they also change the game.
Oh, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
And we like that.
We like it when they change the game. That's what makes a sports game good and stand out from the rest of the pack that maybe doesn't change.
Now, the name of this award is Best Traditional Sports Game.
Yes.
So you won't find any snowboarding or skateboarding here.
Not so much.
This is about fields and rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Balls, occasionally.
Here are the finalists for Best Traditional Sports Game.
FIFA 07.
Fight Night, Round 3.
5, 6.
Madden NFL 07.
MLB 06, The Show. Go Sox.
NCAA Football 07.
Another game, Alex, another type of game that people can really get lost in is a good strategy game.
Yes, especially on the PC has been the sort of the dominant platform. You know, the PC kids, they love their strategy games. A lot of really good strategy games coming out this year, especially a lot of like weird licensed ones.
True test of wills if you can win a good strategy game.
Absolutely.
Here are the finalists for Best Strategy Game.
Company of Heroes.
Galactic Civilizations 2, Dreadlords.
Medieval 2, Total War.
Star Wars, Empire at War.
Warhammer 40,000, Dawn of War, Dark Crusade.
A lot of war.
Now it's time to get to the part of the show where we talk about each platform individually.
Right.
Now, with our platform awards, what are we looking for when we say this is the best game on any given platform?
We're looking for just about everything that could constitute such a title. It's ultimately it's going to come down to the game that's the most fun, but we're looking for everything from its originality to just how much of an impact it had on us to how much kind of staying power it had with us. So what are the games we're still talking about weeks after we played them?
Right. Now let's talk about the Game Boy Advance. Now, what kind of year would you say the Game Boy Advance has had?
Well, the Game Boy Advance, I think it's safe to say it's kind of been in decline. The Nintendo DS has definitely taken center stage, but at the same time, we're going to find here that it still had its standout games.
Definitely. Let's look at those games with our finalists for Best Game Boy Advance. But first, the GBA, I mean, compared to the DS, I mean, it's definitely not as powerful of a platform, correct?
You'd
say that.
It's funny because I've always got a DS game and a GBA game locked and loaded in my DS.
Right.
And sometimes, the only thing to tip me off that I am playing a GBA game is not having anything on the bottom screen. So technically, they're not that different, and they don't involve the touchscreen or anything. But some of these games, I mean, some of the games I've played this year on the GBA, they've been so incredibly long-lasting. I mean, I've literally played them for weeks and weeks. So
longer than some console games, even.
Much longer at that. I think part of it is because the GBA is technically pretty similar to an old console like the Super Nintendo. So a lot of these developers who kind of loved the old classic role-playing games back then, they're now kind of it's almost like a retro gaming movement, though. They're taking like ideas from the mid '90s and deciding to just like carry on with that and make an even more elaborate RPG. So
crazy. Well, now why don't we take a look at the nominees for Best Game Boy Advance Game?
Drill Dozer.
Final Fantasy V.
Scourge Hive.
Super Robot Tyson Original Generation.
Super Robot Tyson Original Generation 2.
Now let's talk about Nintendo's other console. The Nintendo DS didn't have the hugest start, but it really has come into its own.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it was really smooth sailing for the Nintendo DS this year, especially once the DS Lite came out and just kind of sold like wildfire.
Definitely.
I mean, we saw a lot of really solid games for that system this year. Maybe not quite as impressive of a showing as last year, but still lots of great stuff to play.
Yeah, a number of great games, including these finalists.
Clubhouse Games.
Elite Beat Agents.
Metroid Prime Hunters.
New Super Mario Brothers.
Yoshi's Island DS.
This generation, Sony decided to get into the handheld business in a pretty major way with the PlayStation Portable. The PSP has been a pretty crazy system with its big widescreen, its big bright colors. And what kind of games have you been playing on the PSP? What's been standing out for you?
It's finally starting to come into its own. It seems like a bit of a false start. It had a really strong launch, kind of floundered a bit, but this year it came back with some really solid games that not only just look dazzling, but are actually original content. They're not just kind of hand-me-downs from the PlayStation 2.
Right. Let's take a look at the finalists for Best PSP Game.
Dexter.
Mega Man Powered Up.
Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops.
Right on time. Excellent.
Tekken Dark Resurrection.
WTF?
Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this may very well be the last year we give this award.
No, don't say that. Yeah, I mean, the GameCube didn't necessarily have that strong of a year. I think everyone was waiting for a certain game to come out and be the system's swan song.
Definitely. Now let's take a look at those games with the finalists for Best GameCube Game.
Baten Kaitos Origins.
FIFA 07.
The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess.
Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy.
Tomb Raider Legend.
Despite being replaced by the PlayStation 3 this year, I think it's pretty safe to say that the PlayStation 2 did have a pretty good year.
Yeah, it actually had a remarkable year. I mean, the fact that we were playing a lot of PS2 games and liking them flat out better than a lot of the so-called next-gen stuff out there really goes to show the staying power of this system, and it seems like it's even going to have a strong year in 2007.
That's true. Let's take a look at the games now that are finalists for Best PlayStation 2 Game.
You're dead, new kid!
Bully.
Hey!
Final Fantasy 12.
Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence.
Nice shot.
MLB 06, The Show.
Okami.
Now, Brad, Alex, while it seems like Sony will continue to support the PlayStation 2 for quite some time, the Xbox has kind of been, you know, pushed into the closet, right, Brad?
It's pretty much dead in the water at this point.
Yeah.
And for obvious reasons.
But people are still making games for it, right, Alex?
A few of them are.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Okay, here are the finalists for Best Xbox Game.
Dreamfall, The Longest Journey.
FIFA 07.
Mark Echo's Getting Up. Contents under pressure.
That was the golden age.
NCAA Football 07.
Choco Race Driver 3. And the reason the Xbox has kind of been pushed in the closet is because of the Xbox 360, wouldn't you say, Alex?
Yeah, I'd say the Xbox 360 might have just kind of taken over at this point. Maybe the platform Microsoft cares the most about.
A lot of good games. A lot of people care about the Xbox 360.
I
right,
care.
Brad? You care?
I care a lot.
Do you care about the finalists for Best Xbox 360 Game of the Year?
I played them all.
Okay, here they are.
Dead Rising.
The Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion.
You are the one from my dreams.
Gears of War.
Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Vegas.
Viva Pinata.
There's this other system that came out just a couple weeks ago, actually.
Really?
It's called the PlayStation 3.
No way.
It's like the PlayStation 2 plus 1.
Wow.
That's a lot of
PlayStation.
PlayStation.
That's a lot of PlayStation.
There weren't that many games for it, but there were some good ones. Would you say, yeah?
I'd say there were some pretty good games for the PlayStation 3.
In fact, some might say we picked a best one.
Really?
We did.
What are they?
I don't know, but here are the finalists for Best PlayStation 3 Game.
Call of Duty 3.
Fight Night, Round 3.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
Not on my watch.
Resistance, Fall of Man.
Ridge Racer 7.
Meanwhile, Nintendo had a new console too.
Man, that's a lot of new consoles.
It's called the Wii.
Yes.
Wii.
We like the Wii.
Did anyone ever figure out why they named it that?
I don't think it matters at this
No
point.
one cares anymore because we
Nope.
like the games.
We do like the games.
Yes. Here are the finalists for Best Wii Game.
The Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess.
Madden NFL 07.
Rayman Raving Rabbits.
Super Monkey Ball, Banana Blitz.
Trauma Center, Second Opinion.
Next, leave it to me.
Meanwhile, there's a whole group of people that are saying right now, keep your consoles. I have a PC, and it will continue to be the most powerful gaming system in the world.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of those people, actually.
A lot of people.
And they're probably right.
And,
Yeah.
there are a lot of great PC games for them to play this year.
A lot of fantastic PC games.
Fantastic, man. You just keep upping yourself.
That's what I have to do, man.
Here are the finalists for Best PC Game.
Company of Heroes.
The Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion.
GTR 2.
Medieval 2, Total War.
Neverwinter Nights 2.
All right, let's spread out a little bit here. Spread out a little bit. Get everyone here. All right. So there it is. We've heard them all now. The nominees for... You can even stand over here, Brad. It's okay. I'll do like the host thing down here. That's it. All the finalists for all of GameSpot's awards, except the big one. Greg, why aren't we telling people the finalists for Game of the Year right now?
Because that would give away who won the platform awards. It might not give it away, but it would certainly narrow it down. So we like to hold back on the Game of the Year finalists so that everyone can appreciate the achievement of all the finalists in all these different categories, because people are naturally going to gravitate toward, who won this, who won that. And all these guys on some level, they're all winners, right? Because they made the cut in some of these categories. Competitive,
especially the dubious category.
Meanwhile, for people who can't wait, there's the Reader's Choice Awards. When are those kicking off, Jeff?
Those are going to kick off and let people vote nearly immediately.
Awesome.
So people will be able to vote in a lot of the categories that we've chosen here, more than we've ever done before.
And if people don't want to just let their vote do the talking, Alex, where can they go?
They could go to the forums and they can do the talking there.
Yeah,
talking.
Really civil about that.
Yeah, very civil conversation via the forums.
Certainly.
So it's been a great year. This is our last chance on camera to thank everyone for sticking through us. You guys got any memories to stick out? Brad, start with you.
Games.
Lots of games.
A lot of
Jeff.
games.
It's all a blur at this point.
Alex.
Games.
Greg.
I don't know. I don't think I can top that. But it'll be interesting to see how the readers' votes tally up with ours, because they're going to be able to pick from many of our votes and any of the stuff that came out this year, really, for pretty much all of these categories.
And here's to 2007, the PlayStation 3 and the Wii just getting their legs going. What's the Xbox 360 going to do? Are we going to E3 this year?
Maybe.
Yeah,
Hope not.
We'll go to something.
So, lastly, for people who actually want to see the winners for all these many awards, Greg, what's the schedule look like for that?
Well, let's see. It's going to roll out all next week. So on Monday, you're going to get the Special Achievement Awards, Tuesday, Dubious Honors, Wednesday, Genre Awards, Thursday, Platform Awards, and Friday, the Game of the Year is going to be finally revealed. On Thursday, our Game of the Year finalists will also be revealed, so you'll have kind of one day to speculate as to which of those games is going to win, take away our top
bets
honors.
with bookies and get that stuff out of the way.
I hear,
And then we're going to go on vacation so we can actually play all these games.
Right. Yeah, we haven't. We've just been talking.
I took your word on that one game, right? Sure. Good enough.
Last game I played was River City Ransom.
Did the GBA Advanced one?
No.
Okay. Anyways, well, Greg, Alex, Jeff, Brad. Actually, Greg Mueller already got his flight, I think, home for vacation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's gone.
He's out of here. But I'd like to thank all you guys for coming by and doing this. It was a lot. You guys have fun?
Oh, I had a blast.
A little different.
That was good.
Yeah, that's cool.
You made me dress up.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Me
I'm wearing
too.
a sweater.
Can't wait to get the email from my mom about how my collar was crooked the whole time or something. That's why I just totally avoided the tie altogether.
Nice.
Yeah. But for everyone here, thanks for watching. We'll see you in 2007. Enjoy GameSpot's best and worst of 2006. And go play some games!